Missing on the trail. My friends Casey, Priya, and I spent a long weekend hiking a stretch of trail we'd wanted to do for years, far enough from town that cell signal came and went depending on which ridge you were standing on. It was the middle of the afternoon on our second day when we heard someone shouting a name over and over, somewhere off the main path. We found him a few minutes later, a man in his 40s, breathing hard, clearly panicked, asking if we'd seen a woman matching a description he gave almost too fast to follow. He said it was his sister, that she'd wandered ahead of him on the trail almost 2 hours ago and never came back, and his phone had died before he could call anyone for help. He seemed genuinely frightened, hands shaking as he spoke, and it felt wrong to just walk past someone in that kind of state, so we agreed to help him look. Casey and Priya went one direction along a side trail while I went with the man toward a ridge overlooking a small valley, since he said that was the last place he remembered seeing her. We walked for almost 20 minutes without talking much, the trail growing quieter and less traveled the farther we went, until it wasn't really a trail anymore, just a narrow path pressed into the dirt by other hikers who'd wandered off course before us. Something about the walk started to feel wrong before I could put my finger on why. He kept glancing back at me instead of scanning the woods ahead, and every question I asked about his sister got a slightly different answer than the one before. Her hair color changed. Her age changed by a few years. When I asked what she'd been wearing, he paused just a second too long before answering. I stopped walking and told him I should head back and check in with my friends. He turned around fast, closer than he needed to be, and told me it would only take a few more minutes, that we were close, that I shouldn't leave him out here alone. I didn't wait to hear anything else. I told him firmly that my friends were expecting me and started walking back the way we came, faster than before, and he followed close behind, still talking, still insisting we were close. I found a wide part of the trail where 2 other hikers happened to be resting, and I walked straight up to them and stayed there, making it clear I wasn't going anywhere alone with him again. He hovered nearby for a minute, then muttered something about checking the other direction himself, and disappeared back into the trees. Casey and Priya found me 20 minutes later, and when I told them what happened, Priya went pale. She said a park ranger had passed them earlier and mentioned there'd been reports over the past few months of a man using almost that exact story, a missing sister, a dead phone, asking hikers to walk with him alone into less traveled parts of the trail. Nobody had been able to get a clear description that matched between different reports, because he apparently changed small details every time, the same way his story kept shifting while he walked beside me. We reported what happened at the ranger station before we left the park that day, and the ranger didn't seem surprised at all, just tired, like she'd heard some version of it before. We finished the trip early and drove home mostly in silence. I still hike, but I never wander off alone anymore, no matter how urgent someone else's story sounds, and I always keep my friends close enough to see. I think about how easy it would have been to just keep walking, how natural it felt to want to help someone who seemed scared, and how that instinct is exactly the thing someone counts on when they're the one you should be afraid of. Being kind doesn't mean turning off the part of you that notices when something feels wrong. Both things can be true at once, and the trail taught me that the hard way. The man in the window. When I was 12, a couple moved into the house across from ours on a quiet street lined with maple trees. The husband, a tall, silent man named Walter, never said more than a few words to anyone. The wife, Diane, was warm and talkative, always the first to wave from the porch, but Walter rarely let her wander far from his side. If she was outside talking to a neighbor for too long, he would appear in the doorway and call her back inside, not unkindly, just firmly, like a habit neither of them questioned anymore. The other parents on the street called it strange. My mom just called it none of our business, and told me to stay away from their yard. I mostly listened, except for one bored Saturday in July when my best friend was out of town and there was nothing else to do. I decided to play a prank, ringing doorbells and running before anyone answered, and for some reason my 12-year-old brain decided the scariest house on the block was the perfect target. I rang the bell and ducked behind the hedge at the end of their driveway, waiting to run the second the door opened. Nobody came for almost 5 minutes. Just as I stood up to leave, the front door opened, and Diane spotted me crouched halfway behind the bushes before I could get away. To my surprise, she just laughed and waved me over, asking if I wanted some lemonade like she'd been expecting company all along. Up close she seemed completely normal, funny even, asking about school and what I liked to do for fun. Walter stood in the corner of the kitchen the entire time, arms crossed, watching her without saying a word, like he was guarding something instead of just standing in his own house. When I asked to use the bathroom, Diane pointed down the hallway and told me it was the second door on the left. I was so busy glancing back at Walter that I opened the first door instead by mistake. The smell hit me before anything else, thick and waxy, like old candles that had been burning for years in a room with no windows. Dozens of candles sat in a circle on the floor, and in the middle of them was a doll about 2 feet tall, dressed in a small gray button-up shirt, the exact same kind Walter always wore. Around it were small bowls filled with things I didn't want to look at too closely, and the floor around the whole circle was covered in symbols painted in careful, steady lines that stretched from one wall to the other. I turned to run and walked straight into Diane, who was standing right behind me in the hallway, smiling the same warm smile from the kitchen, except now it didn't feel warm at all. She told me, almost gently, that Walter had been the love of her life since high school, but he'd only ever had eyes for someone else, and she'd spent years finding a way to fix that. She said if I told anyone what I'd seen, she would find a way to make me just as devoted to her as Walter was. I didn't wait to hear anything else. I ran straight home and told my mom I'd been at my friend's house all afternoon, and I never said a word to anyone about what I'd actually seen. I avoided that side of the street for the rest of that summer, and every time I did walk past, I saw Walter standing perfectly still on the porch in that same gray shirt, staring at nothing, like he was waiting for permission to move. We moved away a couple of years later, and I never saw either of them again. But I still think about it sometimes, about how Walter never once looked like he wanted to leave, and how Diane never looked like she was working very hard to keep him there. Whatever was happening in that room, it worked exactly the way she wanted it to, and I have never gone looking for an explanation, because some things are better left as questions. The follower. We were driving back from a camping trip in the mountains, just me and my college roommate Dana, taking the long way home because she wanted to see the coastline before summer ended. It was already getting dark by the time we hit the 2-lane road that cut through the pine forest, no streetlights, no other cars, just our headlights and the trees pressing in close on both sides. Dana was driving. I had my feet up on the dash, half asleep, when she tapped my knee without looking away from the road. "Don't turn around fast," she said, "but there's a car back there that's been with us for a while." I checked the side mirror. A pair of headlights, maybe 5 car lengths behind us, matching our speed almost exactly. I told her it was probably nothing, just someone else heading the same direction on the only road for miles. She nodded, but she sped up a little anyway, and so did the car behind us. We didn't say much after that. About 10 minutes later, our back tire blew out. Dana wrestled the car onto the gravel shoulder, and we sat there for a second in silence, listening to the engine tick as it cooled down. Neither of us had signal. The other car had stopped too, its headlights glowing about 200 feet behind us on the same shoulder, engine still running, nobody getting out. We waited almost 10 minutes for something to happen. Nothing did. The car just sat there. Finally Dana said we couldn't just wait in the dark for whoever that was to make the first move, so we got out, grabbed the tire iron from the trunk for the both of us, and started walking toward it, telling ourselves we'd just ask if they were broken down too, or if they had a signal. As we got closer, the driver's window rolled down slowly. An older man sat behind the wheel, both hands resting on top of it where we could see them. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked tired, like he'd been driving for a very long time. He finally spoke, and his voice was shaking a little. He said he was sorry for following so close, but his own car had been acting strange for the last hour, and every time he slowed down to let some distance grow, something in his mirrors made him speed back up again. He said he kept seeing a shape walking along the tree line, keeping pace with his car no matter how fast he drove, and he'd been too scared to stop anywhere alone. He asked, almost embarrassed, if we would mind if he just stayed close to us until the road opened back up near town. Dana and I looked at each other. It sounded impossible, but he looked more frightened than either of us felt, and there was nothing threatening about him at all, just an old man white-knuckling his steering wheel in the middle of nowhere. We told him our tire was blown and we had no way to call anyone. He offered to drive one of us into town for help while the other stayed with the car, or to just wait with us until the sun came up, whatever made us feel safer. We chose to wait together. He got out and stood near his open car door, not coming any closer than that, like he understood exactly how strange the whole situation was. It was during that hour of waiting, huddled near our dead tire with a stranger's headlights the only light for miles, that Dana quietly grabbed my arm and pointed past the old man's shoulder. Something was moving along the tree line behind his car, low to the ground, weaving between the trunks in a way that didn't look like any animal either of us had ever seen move before. The old man turned to look without us saying a word, like he already knew what we were looking at before we said anything. He told us to get in his car immediately, both of us, right now, and for once neither Dana nor I argued. We left our own car on the shoulder with the flat tire and climbed into the back seat of his, and he pulled away fast, faster than a man his age looked like he should be able to drive. In the mirror, just for a second, I saw the shape step out of the tree line and stand in the middle of the empty road behind us, exactly where our car had been parked. It didn't chase us. It just stood there, watching us go, until the curve of the road took it out of sight. He drove us all the way into town without saying much else, dropped us at a gas station with working phones, and waited until we had someone on the line before he pulled away. We never learned his name. We called for a tow truck and sat under the gas station lights until it arrived, and neither of us said a single word about what we'd seen out there, because we both knew we'd never be able to explain it in a way that made any sense. The tow truck driver found our car exactly where we left it, tires still flat, nothing else disturbed. No footprints in the gravel except our own. To this day, Dana keeps a spare tire and a full tank of gas before any long drive, and neither of us has taken the back roads through that forest again, not even in daylight.